Hi, everyone. This is Norman Kochnick here on the eve, yes, the eve of the Ashes series between, of course, Australia and England. Now, many supporters of various sports are saying, well, especially in cricket, say that this tournament is probably not as big as what perhaps the Border Gavaskar Trophy is, or the series between England and India, or even I guess India and Pakistan in terms of the traditions of it. But I think the Ashes will always be paramount in the minds of cricket lovers. Now, whether you're in India, whether in Australia, obviously in England, it's got a lot of history to it, and probably has never waned from that. Even though the form of the two teams has been rather ordinary. Hi, Bram, how are you? The form of the teams has been rather ordinary. That is Australia and to a lesser extent England's form's been pretty damn good. But I think that the main issue has been around consistency of form. A lot of the players who watches Ashes, Lanka Premier League is better than love. Oh yes, Lanka Premier League, I'm afraid, leaves a lot to be desired. They probably are suffering somewhat from the lack of watching of that particular series. But obviously the Ashes series has been particularly big. The build-up, at least, well, we've had issues on both sides. We've had the whole Tim Payne saga and the sexting that has gone on, and then on top of that, of course, we had the whole racist slurs involved the Yorkshire Cricket Club and the way that's gone about. Been quite devastating indeed. But I think cricket's the winner always. Now it'll come out cleaner with the situation occurring now with Pat Cummins being put into captaincy, although he tends to talk about leaning on Steve Smith and leaning on this person, leaning on that person. Well, hopefully he doesn't do too much leaning and he just takes the ball into his hand and decides what he wants to do. I think that he can certainly get advice from some of the other players, no doubt, Steve Smith. I would have thought Usman Khawaja would have been a great guy to have there for him as well. Now, he's obviously not in the 15, or in the 11 at least. We'll go through that in a minute as to who's in that 11. But yeah, it's going to be an interesting series indeed. I'm hoping most of the Indian audiences do watch it as well. There's no lack of enthusiasm there in terms of such a match. Now, we've got some 900 odd videos that I've uploaded. This is the, if I'm not wrong, it's the 313th live. So Nanda, Kishore, Karopal, in fact, neither of them deserve to win. Who's joining us? Parla was just with me a short while ago. She'll be with me soon. Chris is meant to be coming. David Graveney is definitely coming because he's just messaged me a short while ago. So I'll just actually see how David is. David is wanting to join. Aparna will also be joining in when she gets a chance to sort us all out. We've actually put a video together today as well. There's been a series of videos go up, as you would know. And yeah, there's been a fair bit of activity already on today's. Both teams have performed well below par in the recent matches, I would agree. Hi, good to see you through and there. How are you? Yeah, look, there's no doubt about it that Australia have been below par. I mean, they won the World Cup. Yes, the T20 World Cup they won was rather a shock to me. Waiting to see Chris. Yeah, I don't know what Chris Vernon actually is. I thought he would have been here. David Graveney is certainly going to come. I just wanted to see where David Graveney is. Letting David know that Chris should be on as well. I'll see whether Chris, I hope you wake these guys up, I think. I know his dad. Dad? I'm on air now, David. Hello? Okay. All right, so Does England miss a genuine fast bowler with some serious pace like Archer? Well, Vinay, it's a good question. As you probably heard, that James Anderson's actually no longer in the team based on an injury that he has. Let's see, David might be coming on, I think. Let's wait and see whether... Not sure what... David, are you there, or have I got the wrong one? Oh, here we are. Hi, David. How are you?
I'm okay. Yeah, not too bad. Just expecting another storm in this country, Norman. So I could lead, the picture might go down slightly. So we're having another hurricane.
That's all right. We've got our regulars, Baram's there. I can see Himanshu Chowdhury. I'm waiting on Chris Vernon to join us. I did talk to Adam and Monty. They're all trying to get on here. Now, David, what's your verdict on James Anderson's out with an injury? It sounds like a minor injury.
Yeah, I suppose if you thought that through about in his mind, he was never going to play all 5 tests. No. It was quite an interesting observation, really, because the rest of the bowlers have only played white ball cricket. So, or Stuart Broad hasn't played at all. Then you've got Wood and Wokes coming back from injuries. And then, they bowl very well in the T20, but that's, 5 days is masses of overs. So,
yeah, it's an interesting one. I mean, it looks as though, they did announce this. They call it a squad as such, and I posted that. You obviously saw that, didn't you?
Yeah.
And it's
well, it's all happened since the last time I spoke to you, Norman. Yeah. Yorkshire has imploded, big style. You've got a new captain, and my predictions of Kane Williams's elbow injury proved to be right.
Absolutely.
A lot more serious. That's going to be a problem for him, I think.
Well, it sounds chronic, doesn't it? It doesn't sound like a short term.
Yeah. You can overcome it, but it's it could be hard work. So, how the weather forecast for Brisbane, has it stopped raining yet?
Well, I'll give you an example. Sydney had a bit of rain today, but we've turned out to be a pretty good day. The forecast for Brisbane is that it will rain, but only for a period of time, as you would know with the Gabba, late afternoon. So we may still get a fair bit of play in, despite the intermittent weather which will occur, which is not unusual for a typical Sydney test, to be honest with you. I mean, not Sydney, because a typical Gabba test, they normally have these situations occur anyway, where they have that rain, that tropical rain.
Norman, is your volume up? Because I can't really hear you that much.
It is now. Can you hear me now?
Yeah, same. It's not. I don't think it's me. I've got mine up. I might have to change pieces of equipment, Norman. So
that's right. But I hear you loud and clear, so that you're not a problem. As long as you can put up with my. I'm surprised my booming voice doesn't come out at you, but it will. Looking at the side.
So was that Chris and his brother, that picture that was on Facebook?
Which one was that?
Well, it had some rather loud trousers on. We looked very smart.
That was the one with Matthew Hayden.
No, it did look like Chris. Chris got a brother?
Chris got a brother. I don't think he does. He might have. I'm not sure. He's never mentioned about a brother. So are you talking about his page? Are you talking about? Let me have a look.
So while nobody else is on, Norman,
I mean the first above.
What's Chris's dad's proper name? What do you call Chris's dad?
The what? There's no evidence of any brother here that I can. Oh, hang on. I see the photo you're talking. Barbara, Chris, and James Vernon. Well, that may well be his brother. It does look like him. I never knew he had a brother.
Yeah. Norman? What's his father's name?
Richard.
But you call him something else, don't you?
Reg. We call him Reg. But I don't know whether that's. Oh, it's interesting. Well, I know Munchie's Chris's dad is Richard, but we call him Munchie's just mentioned Rich. Yes, we know that. But Munchie has not Chris, as in Chris got a brother named James. I never knew about that. Munchie's online. Munchie, if you're going to come on and talk about it, come on air for 5 minutes. Well, let's get, while we're here, Dave, they're going to all stumble in at some stage. But let's just go. I'm going to be doing, by the way, a preview of the game each day and a post review. Now, whether you're available will be up to your availability, because obviously time frames will be disgusting. If we're starting at 9 o'clock in the morning, what time will it be? It'll be about 10 p.m. at night at your place.
Yeah.
So we could do a preview of tomorrow's match if you're up for it.
Yeah, no, I'm going to be fine.
Okay, so I'll let you know about that. But so I'm going to follow each day religiously before and after the match. Obviously, with a Gabba, it's ironic because the so-called opening of the borders happens 1 a.m. the day after the test, which is atrocious timing. But I will be physically in Adelaide, obviously Sydney and Melbourne. Now, the 5th test, as you probably have heard, is actually no longer in Perth, and they're saying that Hobart's the logical decision based on the fact that they meant to play Afghanistan early in the year.
The Australians won't agree to another day-night test match. That's like shooting themselves in the foot doing that. So, well,
there's some talk that Sydney's putting in a massive bid, which means financially, to host the 5th test match as a day-nighter. And Melbourne may be in the same boat. So if Cricket Australia have actually told them those 3, I think there's 4 grounds. There's Blundstone Arena, which is in Hobart, MCG, SCG, and also Manuka Oval in Canberra are all meant to be in the process of being thought of. And if that's the case, then they're going to put in bids. Now, a bid usually involves money, I would assume. So if that's the case, we could see a situation where, that we could have a match not in Hobart, but in Sydney or Melbourne. So that's going to be interesting to see whether that's what they're going to make that decision on, because it really rightfully should be based on location and not on anything like certainly not on the basis of the money alone. But it looks as though that's part of the issue.
England tried to do that a few years ago. It was an Ashes series where Durham had a test match at the end of the series, and they were all sealed bids, so it nearly broke the club completely.
So what happened in the end there?
Well, they managed to survive it, but having a test match in Durham in September, where invariably the temperature at night time is seriously cold, it's just a waste of time.
That's true. So if it goes to the heart, it'll be Hobart. But if it's based on financial, it'll either go to the MCG or SCG, depending on how much money is effectively thrown both Cricket Australia and ECB's way, because it will be a financial reward for both of them, I would think. And that would be interesting. Look, going back to the sides for a moment, I notice Ollie Pope has been placed in the squad over and above Bairstow.
Sorry, Norman?
That Ollie Pope is in the side over and above Bairstow.
Yeah, that would be about right.
Do you think so?
Technically a better player, certainly.
No,
the bowling attack is the thing that they're going to have to, wish and hope, really, because they have no idea how long Stokes can bowl for.
No, that's true.
And you're also, if he does play in Brisbane, is very humid. It's a challenging weather if it's dry. So
both Stuart Broad and James Anderson not on the 12.
Broad's not in the 12.
No. Oh, sorry. My apologies. He's the first name. I didn't see him. I'll take that back. I'll go through the 12 for you. Burns and Hamid are probably the openers. Milan's first drop, followed by
Root.
and then on top of that, you'll have Pope or Stokes, depending on what they go with. Then you've got Wokes, Wood, Robinson, and Broad as the 4 bowlers. One of those 4 will drop out, and Leach.
They might go with 4 seamers, Norman, and just get by with Joe Root.
And they'll have Leach.
No Leach. But it does spin, Brisbane.
It does. It has a lot more bounce in it.
Shane regarded it as his most favourite ground.
So, okay, let's just have a look at this situation for a minute then. So we've got Burns and Hamid, followed by Milan at 3, Root 4, Pope, then Bairstow 5 and 6.
Butler, 5, 6, 7.
7 being Butler. That leaves 4 bowlers. And you're saying it will be Robinson, Wokes, Wood and Broad. And leave out Leach.
Well, whatever happens with that batting lineup, I would suggest that actually Wokes has to play, because otherwise the tail starts at 8.
So that means if Wokes plays, you'd have to think Leach would not be playing. I would argue.
I would estimate that, but you know, Wood's got some injury concerns, or always does have. So Wood has to play in a 5-man attack.
But the Gabba pitch is a ready-made pitch for Wood to bowl on. Surely, he needs to be in that side.
And I can understand that people having reservations about Stark with a red ball. He's just not the normal left-arm seamer. You know, you wouldn't say he genuinely swings the ball all the time. You wouldn't say that actually, he's going to be. It's just not very consistent, actually. I think his success at white ball is the fact that he's inconsistent.
That's a good way of putting it.
Actually, you can't line him up.
No, I have a lot of faith in what Shane Warne says about players, and his hunch is usually pretty close to right.
No, he's good.
He's very good. Welcome, Munchie.
Good morning, David. Pleasure, sir,
Munchie,
as usual.
How are you?
Very well, thank you very much. Yeah, apologies. Yeah, looking a bit scruffy this morning, as I didn't expect it to come online. But you asked me quickly to come on to verify a couple of facts, so quite happy to do that. But
please do
I can't stay long. Yeah.
Tell me.
So yes, Chris does have a brother. Hang on, just. Phone going off in the background. Yeah,
that's right.
So yeah, Chris does have a brother, and I have abused Chris for those yellow trousers. They are shocking. Yeah.
Is that part of his MCC membership? He's got to wear those trousers.
I don't know, but yeah, it's just the colour combinations were quite interesting there. Yeah. But regarding the Test match, I can't wait. And I think you made the comment there, David, about if they go to Hobart and keep with the pink balls. I completely agree with you. You're playing into England's hands. Hobart is certainly a lot more of a temperate climate compared to the rest of Australia, Norman. I believe you would agree. And certainly pink balls. And I think that not playing Anderson at the Gabba is, if he's got an injury or not, makes sense to me. The Gabba is going to be pretty much flat, up and down, bit of bounce, whereas pink ball and the Hobart is going to favour him more. And I think they're saying the next test is 4 days after the Gabba. So Correct. You've got to balance the workload. So you may see, David was talking about Wood as well in his injury proneness, that it could be that I could see that the bowlers are rotated just to give them a break. And I think that's going to be key, especially for someone like Pat Cummins as the captain, that he won't get a chance to have a break now.
No, it's look, I think that I'm more concerned about, honestly, I've got more concerns about the Australian captaincy than anything at this stage. I think the England bowling lineup will bowl admirably. They've been here for a good month. They've had a lot of preparation time, maybe not perfect practice time, but they've had a lot of time here to adjust. And I think, they've been, despite the whole racist criticism which have gone on, they've been fairly undisturbed in their process. There's been a lot of heat on Australia. Tim Payne's been in the news. We know that. The conjecture over even Smith as vice captain, I would argue that they're very defensive, the Australian team, whether it's Pat Cummins or Steve Smith or anyone, about the selection of Travis Head over Khawaja. They're all saying we knew for a month out that Travis Head was the player. And that certainly was, I believe, not the case, because Khawaja's stats really stack up. They're well ahead of Head. In fact, they're well ahead of Marcus Harris. Marcus Harris hasn't scored a century, whereas Travis Head has scored one here and there. But Khawaja's hit 8, and his batting averages overall are far superior. There's a number of stats that have come up, and Khawaja beats it on all levels, but they've been very defensive of Travis Head, saying, oh, he was always going to be in the team. And you can read between the lines. Australia is dissension within the ranks. I'm still convinced that Justin Langer and Khawaja don't get along. There's an issue with even around Tim Payne and Langer with both Warner and Smith. So there's a lot of, they're coming together very nicely with their discussions. Pat Cummins saying, I've known Steve Smith a long time, blah, 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 and they're going to lean on him. Since when does a captain lean on your vice captain in your first conversation? You don't talk that way. Do you, David?
Yeah, I would say if I go back and look at Michael Vaughan, who for me was probably one of our best captains, he did talk a lot to people like Trescothick and Flintoff. You know, he wasn't proud enough to not try and do it on his own. I don't think there's any captain who can do it on his own. And I think he also did another tactic, which was if he had new players to try and get them involved. Now, he wouldn't probably follow what they said, but just to don't think that they're just isolated and worried about what am I going to do with the first bowl I bowl in Test match cricket, just to get them inclusive. The only person I've ever seen being sent to the boundary as a punishment has been Kevin Peterson in Australia, because he was fielding third man to third man because nobody wanted to speak to him. So, yeah. So captains, I think captains do talk to, and I always got the feeling that Mark Taylor talked to a lot of people when he was captaining. But you don't. It's a balance. You don't want to captain by committee. Neither do you want to do it all on your own. So it's very much a filtering thing, which you do when you're talking to coaches. Not everything that coaches say apply to you, but you're not going to be rude enough to say, well, that's a load of nonsense, I'm not going to listen to you. So, but I think the Khawaja thing is not, I would have to say, Norman, at the present time, anybody talking about anything in cricket, people are working on eggshells. Because you say the wrong thing at the wrong time, particularly a person who is not white, then you can end up in real serious trouble. Certainly in the UK at the present stage.
Look, Travis Head was dropped for poor form leading into this last season. Didn't play the last match. His form was pretty ordinary. He and Wade were both dropped. The way that they're talking, it's as if Travis Head was never out of the team, and that they're thinking that there's no doubt that he should be in, and they've decided a month ago. Well, a month ago, it should have been Khawaja even more, because his form was even more notable then. It's only of late where he hasn't had as much time as what Travis Head has. And Travis Head hasn't scored a run. There's something really fundamentally wrong. I'm not happy with it. But anyway, we'll have to let that be.
We'll have to see, Norman. If Travis Head starts getting bad results, obviously the pressure's going to be hugely on him when he comes out to bat. And I'm sure the England team will let him know when he comes out to bat. And of course, if he doesn't perform, is he then retained in the side? And to see what happens after that. And if Khawaja still doesn't get it, then you can clearly see that there is some sort of conflict within the Australian squad.
Yeah, exactly. The fact is that Khawaja demanded to be back in the squad because of his scores were enormous. Captain Queensland to win the Sheffield Shield, has done everything possible. He's played 44 tests, scored 8 centuries. He's demanded to be back in the squad at the very least. That's what's happened. Alex Carey, if Tim Payne had played this series, Josh English would have been the number 2 keeper, given a bit more time. But Alex Carey can be very thankful that Payne dropped out early in the series to give him the first opportunity to play. And now, it's interesting, we've got so many left-handers. We've got Marcus Harris, Warner, we've got, well, not Khawaja at the moment, but Travis Head. We've got Alex Carey. They're all left-handers. It's going to be interesting how the likes of Stuart Broad, he loves that angle of bowling, doesn't he? So Hence, he should be in the forefront of that bowling style and attack.
Well, it used to be the other way around, Norman. When Cook and Strauss destroyed Australia, it's because the Australians couldn't bowl to left-handers. They set themselves up to bowl fourth stump to a right-hander, moving the ball away, and it's hard. When Jimmy first started to play for England, he had the same problem. We played South Africa, and Graham Smith got 2 double hundreds because he just found it very difficult to find the right line. And actually, now he's actually, though obviously he's not playing in the game, he has become an incredible bowler to a left-handed bowl to batsman. Broad, Warner must have nightmares about Broad because he is a walking wicket.
Hugely.
He's better off running down the wicket, trying to hit him over the top, really. He'd have more success doing that.
Can I go back to the comment about the captains? Because it's just a question for David. Certainly, as an opening bowler, the one thing I loved to do was after I bowled my opening 6 balls as such, was then go and hide down at fine leg or third man and have a rest while my teammate was doing it at the other end. Cummins is not going to have that luxury. He's not going to be able to hide on the pitch as a bowler. And so that's going to put an immense amount of pressure on him. And so surely, and then this is why you have this debate about do fast bowlers make good captains, is because they don't get a chance to rest. So is that going to be an issue for Australia, do you think, David?
I think you can go to mid on if you have a mid on and a mid off. I think that's a place where you can field. And also, in some ways, I understand what you're saying, that actually down at long leg can have a drink and speak to the coaches and whatever. But actually at mid-off and mid-on, you actually get to speak to the bowler more often during the over than you probably would do if you're standing at second slip.
It is, but it's obviously there's still more of a risk that you're going to be exerting yourself more at mid-on, mid-off.
Well, he always has come over to me. He actually played, shows you how time goes quickly. He played in the under-19s, which is the same era as the Overton twins. And we played a World Cup at Townsville. In which Cummins played. He actually, this was a period of time that he was getting injured quite a lot. He'd like to say play 2 or 3 games and have a stress fracture or whatever. So pleasingly that he's recovered from that. He will need some support, and certainly, and it's a far removed from Test match cricket, but when I was captaining at Gloucestershire for however long, when I was bowling, I got somebody else to captain the team, to move the field somewhere, or if I lost a plot or got angry with a batsman, they would intervene and whatever. So it became a sort of a joint partnership. I don't see it causing him any problems. The only problem he could have is if he thinks he's got to bowl differently because he's captain. One of the main problems of being a bowling captain tends to be you don't bowl yourself enough. You always think that somebody else is better than you. So you need somebody. And I managed to fall over a plan of having. We had a guy called Brian Davison, Norman. Munchie might remember. He played for Leicester, but he fought in the war in Rhodesia or Zimbabwe and whatever. So he's a pretty tough cookie. And he used to hide on the boundary and a floppy, and occasionally he would, quite often with me, march up to the middle, stick his finger in the middle of my chest, and say, "You bowl now." And I used to say, "Well, Courtney Walsh needs to bowl a couple more overs, or David Lawrence," and he just said, "You bowl now." And I thought, yes, I think I better bowl then if you're going to do that. So you just need somebody. You get to the decision, but it probably takes you 2 or 3 overs too late to do it. So that's probably the one thing he's got to guard against.
And of course, when you're bowling yourself, is if as a captain, you may see a bowler's beginning to struggle, and you think, okay, I'll take them off now. But if you're the bowling captain, you may think, no, I can get back for the next over and continue. And so I guess therefore is this: do I bowl enough or do I bowl too much? Because you can think you can recover and try and show the team that no, I bowled badly the last over. I'll come back the next over and try and get that back, almost like a gambler chasing the odds.
I think Munchie also, if the bowling captain, he understands mentally what the bowlers are going through in terms of they're having a bit of a tough time. Whereas I've seen batting captains who don't even understand what goes through a bowler's head. They do it through their batting lens. You know that. Well, I can hit that stuff. Why should you be bowling that? So.
Well, angry fast bowlers
I'm
generally
sure
not a lot going through their heads. Yeah.
So would you put Pat Cummins at mid off and not fine leg when he's bowling? Would there be anything wrong with that?
No,
It's got to be mid off.
I've seen it happen before.
Yeah.
But the papers are right, and Munchy's probably got a better record than I have. Is that you don't get millions of bowling captains? So, you know, one of our best captains in England, going back to like 50 odd years ago, Ray Illingworth. You know, he was an off spinner. I would have to say that spin bowlers are much more intelligent than fast bowlers normally.
Yeah,
that's a personal
more thought. Yeah.
But I mean, let's look at Pat. What I don't want Pat Cummins to do is to go down the fine leg and rely almost entirely on Steve Smith to call the shots.
He won't do that. He will be visible. He'll be a mid off and a mid on.
I hope he is.
It's very rare that you bowl without a mid off, and a mid on, unless you're bowling 150 miles an hour, which none of this attack is apart from him.
Yeah, and generally you'd only not have a mid off if the ball's swinging a lot and you're trying to tempt the batsman to drive through that area. So.
Yeah,
true. But I mean, it's intriguing because Pat Cummins, you would argue, on his day, could almost be called an all-rounder because he certainly can bat. So, and he doesn't open the bowling. He normally bowls first change. So we may see his batting come to the fore more as well because he'll feel that captaincy form of responsibility, which could be shown out in his batting. Could actually turn him into an even better all-round player.
Yeah. For the captains I've worked with, Norman, it tends to be when they initially take over, you have an upswing in their performance because they feel that they're leading the team, they've got to make a difference, and it's actually the media the thing that wears them down. You know, that's if the team doesn't do very well, you have to be lined up in front of the media, and it can get hard work doing that, particularly if you're an England captain.
Especially with our media.
Let's just take a step back and look at Pat Cummins as a captain leading up to this Test match. They're saying he was an admirable vice captain. I would argue he didn't do a hell of a lot, but that's just my thoughts. I didn't see much evidence of his vice captaincy at Test level. On a state level, he came in and I think he was captain for one or two short form matches for New South Wales. But besides that, his captaincy his captaincy's cupboard is bare. Okay, so he's not renowned for being a captain at other levels. So he's somewhat been thrusted into it, even though he's been vice captain. I don't think they ever seriously saw him as the captain at those stages when Tim Paine, I believe they were grooming someone else to be captain, but the abruptness of Tim Paine's stoppage has elevated Pat Cummins beyond the level he may have expected to be at. And I looked back through some tapes to get a bit of an understand. I tried to grab any moment where I saw Pat Cummins making either a fielding decision or even a bowling decision or prepping the team. I saw very little of that. So I'm just curious how he's going to handle us. He's very inexperienced, full stop. Despite being very well liked, he's extremely inexperienced. Even more inexperienced than Labuschagne, who hasn't bloody all captained anyone. So,
but I'd also say, if we go back, Norman, is someone like Graham Smith, when he came in to be the South African captain, was 21, and everyone thought, well, who's he? We'll see. Yeah, I think that's the only thing we can only see what happens. I wish Pat well. Obviously not too well, being an Englishman, but you don't want to see anyone fail abysmally at the job, and I'm sure it's going to be very tough. And I think what will happen is, I think the Australian crowd, perhaps you can correct us, please, Norman, is I think the crowd will be very forgiving of Pat Cummins because he's been thrust in this position because of what's happened with Steve Smith and Tim Paine in the past. And, you know, Pat Cummins is really there almost by default in that role. But obviously, time will tell to see what happens now. It's all going to kick off tomorrow. It's 12:30. I've got to jump off to another meeting. So pleasure. Hopefully we'll get on through the next few games. David, a pleasure, sir. Baram, everyone, Simath, take care of yourselves and look forward to what is the best cricket series in the world.
See you over the next coming months.
Cheers then, guys. Bye.
When my prediction of a 3-1 victory comes to fruition.
So you're saying 3-1. David, honestly, now that Perth is no longer in the frame, which I expected Australia to win there, I actually think it's going to be 2-2, and depending on where that 5th test will be played will be the decider. I'm seeing Brisbane is going Australia's way, but I'm seeing Adelaide going England's way, especially if James Anderson bowls under the lights of night. I think that they'll be, and David, I think Marcus Lawrence, as in Bunchy's just said, he's going for 2-2. But I actually am concerned about it's whoppingly in England's favour the last test if it goes to Hobart or even Sydney or Melbourne. It's a big advantage for England.
Yeah, well, it's and with the amount of rain there's been, Norman, I don't see the Gabba playing like the normal Gabba wicket.
No.
It's got to be a slower wicket than it normally is. So in a stroke, Australia might have lost their 2 pacey wickets that they need, which has always undermined the English batsmen just by the amount of bounce and pace more than anything else.
Absolutely, it's intriguing because I call the Brisbane wicket now gluggy. It'll stick, and it won't come onto the batters freely. There'll be a fair bit of bounce, but it'll be more tennis ball bounce. It'll be a rather hit the ground and catch and then go up.
But the Australian bowlers have always been better to know what length to bowl on bouncy wickets.
True.
The English seamers tend to get a bit carried away by the bounce, and the Australian batsmen are brought up on wickets where you can leave on length, because it's invariably not going to hit the stumps, so they just let it go. So.
I hope England don't go. I hope they go without Leach and the team, and they have the 5 bowlers, including Stokes, and just really attack Australian batsmen with some, good fast bowling. Ollie Robinson could come into his own here. He could be as valuable as any other bowler on the side. I think he's a very good foil. I think we could have some fireworks with him. He's a great bowler.
Yeah, no, it'd be good. Very good. So is anybody else coming on, Norman, or not? Because I've got a
well, I expected a partner. I was just with a partner about half an hour ago. She was heading in and getting ready and coming on. So we'll talk for another 5 minutes if you don't mind, as long as you want. But okay, your take is at this early stage is 3-1. I'm even saying 3-2. It's going to, if Australia win the toss and bat well and get a top big score, well, then it may affect the whole series. But I'm concerned about Australia. I think their captaincy is their Achilles heel, and Pat Cummins could succumb to it very quickly. And even though he's a great person and a great player as a bowler, I'm not sure whether he's ready for this captaincy. I really am not. And if they default back to Steve Smith too quickly, or heaven forbid, say Pat Cummins pulls up injured.
Yeah.
Then what?
Well, yeah. There'd be a partnership between Smith and Warner then.
Well, if Warner's wife, Candace, is anything, because she wants her husband back in the team as a captain. She's been very vocal and has been very anti-Tim Payne in saying if he's not captain, why isn't he in the side at all? Very quick. It was quite unusual and quite upsetting for a wife of the current player to get involved with selections and about her husband and about the captain.
Never be allowed.
It's disgraceful.
You can't
she
say
loves
that
publicity, obviously. And I mean, you could blame her, you could blame Candace, but actually you should be blaming Dave Warner. He should tell her not to do that. It's really, he's obviously let her do it, and almost you'd argue deliberately, because that's not on. She should not be allowed to get involved. It was disgraceful. So look, things aren't. I mean, Pat Cummins is certainly. He stood there and in the live broadcast about a day ago, and he started to recite the Australian side. So he announced the team, which good on him. He's captain, but it was very. I hate to describe it as childlike or amateurish the way he delivered the team. And when he mentioned Travis Head's name, he went into this massive offensive or defensive, more or less, about why he was selected. Like he over-explained why he was selected.
Well, he's trying to preempt the questions that were going to be asked of him, which that would have been one of them for a start. So.
Oh, no doubt. But is it his place to be answering before they're asked?
Yeah, I think what he's. I think by announcing the team in that manner, Norman, I think he's trying to say I'm leading the team, and it's not coach led, it's not selector led or anything like that. So it's my team, which is fair enough.
I hope that's what it was, because then I'd be satisfied with that. But I think what Munchie said, and you're saying to an extent, is that time will tell how we're going to go here. England have got a massive opportunity here, and Joe Root can really stamp his authority on this series early.
It would be interesting, and it's, again, difficult to judge, same as Cummings. It's difficult to judge how the events of Yorkshire, which, you know, is an ongoing thing, stuff comes out every single day, how that's going to impact on the Yorkshire players within that squad. Because some of the guys, the backroom staff are Yorkshire, or were Yorkshire backroom staff, who are no longer. So you've got a bit of a difficult situation to manage within the dressing room itself. And some people were returning to the UK after Christmas and they haven't got a job.
Wow.
And the way it's been presented is, and it's been done in a way to avoid Yorkshire having to pay compensation or redundancy or anything like that. They've all been accused of gross misconduct, which is basically torpedoing their chances of getting employment anywhere else. So,
wow,
yeah, it's not a happy place at present. So,
but having said that, though, it is still miles away from where they are now. I know it's on their mind, but they would have. I mean, they're not getting the English papers in front of their face, even though they've got online.
No. I think the best thing for everybody is for the game, for the cricket to be played. People have waited a long time for this. As you know, the expectation of a National Series is beyond most things. So let's toss the coin and let's hopefully Ruti wins the toss and does the right thing. And this will be quite an interesting decision, whether you bat or bowl, because of the amount of rain that's fallen. But it seems to be the Gabba is a little bit like Edgbaston. Whatever it looks like, you've got to bat first. So, but
absolutely,
they're talking to people who've been there for the last month. It's just rained every single day, and I've seen Queensland rain, and that's not drizzle that comes down. That's proper stuff.
Oh, gotcha. Okay, just a thought of we've heard the selections, we know about that, we know about the condition, we know that what they've been through. Okay, you've talked about the fact of getting a starter so they get their minds off the issues which have gone before them. But do you think the way this is going to, the significance of the series on Root is huge. I strongly believe this is Root's making as a captain. I think he could really show himself up. Ian Chappell's had words about his captaincy in the press, which was very derogatory. Maybe that's going to spur him on. But do you think psychologically England are in a position to really take advantage of this series the way that it should be? I mean, they've got Anderson and Broad there still, which they can still cause havoc.
They certainly have the players, Norman, to do it. It's just how you deal with the first interchanges of what happens, really. So I think they've got to look back at 2005 and look at that series. That they were comfortably outplayed. We were comfortably outplayed in the first Test match, but then had the character to bounce back and win a series that could easily go on either way. It could easily have been 3-1 to Australia at the end. But I think they're a tight group. I think the bubble scenario is hard, but it keeps all the players together. They've had their families out there, I believe, particularly the ones with young children. There isn't anybody in the world who can predict what's going to happen. Other than one thing for sure, it will fluctuate because the batting side, both batting teams, have a tendency to explode. For not to say for no apparent reason, but they're just I just think that if I'm looking at our team, the presence of somebody like Stokes and Butler at 6 and 7 is a huge advantage because they can reverse the trend of the game at a moment's notice, and that's not wishful thinking. They've actually done that. So I see Josh Butler having a huge series.
I agree. So do you see Bairstow fair?
If he backs himself to play the way he played in the T20s, to be ultra aggressive, bit like Gilchrist, that type of. Once you get in, I'm not saying from ball one. So yeah, I think it'll be fine. So.
What about Ollie Pope? Ollie Pope Ollie Pope discussed about his being the youngest or one of the youngest in the team and being somewhat inexperienced, but he did talk in terms of the squad's been together for some time now. What do you think of Ollie Pope? What's your thoughts on him?
I know Ollie. I know his parents really well. He went to Cranley School in England, which has produced a number of players. Surrey's a big county. They've got lots of expectation in terms of them. Plays on a good wicket, so he's perfected a really good technique. I think it'd be really good. I think he will take to Australian pitches. They are more suited to him than English wickets, actually.
It's interesting because you've got James Vince floating around in the BBL. You've got even the likes of there's quite a few England players that are floating around. Even I saw Chris Jordan there. And I'm not saying that they're Test players, but I rather like them being here because it adds to the,
there's millions of them because the Lions. There's another group of young English players are here, so that they have a few. And James Vince, I think I'm a great fan of James Vince. Great fan of Sam Billings, who's playing there. There's another Ben Duckett who's got 40 odd yesterday.
Tom Curran's playing there as well. He's currently playing for the BBL. I saw him play the other night.
So it's they don't. In past series and past decades, once you had an injury, it was difficult to find anybody to replace them because it took so long to get them out there. World's a smaller place, so it'll be good. So, Norman, when we start, are you not doing? Are you doing a preview tonight?
No, this is the preview of the series. The preview of the match will happen maybe about an hour and a half before the match starts. So that will be, my God, that'll be fairly late at night your time. Don't forget you're 11 hours behind. Yeah. So if that could well start around 9:30 or thereabouts, maybe 10.
That's fine.
I mean that.
So just send the link as an email, Norman.
I will. Fine. I will send the email link. Jimmy Maxwell said he's going to try and join as well. I've got a few others coming up. It's a more palatable time for us, of course, in Australia, but. I'm particularly interested in this. I think this is going to be a bigger series than most people realize. I think we expect 05 to be one of the ones you can never knock down. But I think
I'll be amazed if one side dominates the whole way through. I see it fluctuating session by session. And that's, I think, how the dressing rooms approach us. Try and win just the session in front of us. If you win 3 in a row, you're getting into a stronger position. So,
I actually think this series will be extremely close. And I think, again, as I said, the Gabba, if everything goes to plan, Australia should have the upper hand. But Adelaide's England's, in my opinion, and Melbourne and Sydney will not go Australia's way. So it'll be 2-2. And depending on where that 5th test goes, my God, if it's Hobart. I mean, the last time we played there with any seriousness, we had Gilchrist and Langer all batting fantastically well to win a match. It's going to be interesting. It's going to be extremely close. The fact that Perth's out of the equation definitely goes England's way. Hugely.
It'll be an exciting series. So I'll speak to you later on, Norman.
All right. I'll wake you. You wake me up or I'll wake you up. Whatever. We'll work something out. Thanks, David. You're much cherished coming on. Yes, everyone. I'm waiting on some more guests coming on. David Graveney, in case you're not aware of who he is, he was the chairman of selectors of the England squad for over 10 years. He selected most of the champions that won in the 05 series. He has a great deal of great knowledge. He's talked highly of Ollie Pope being in the side. It'll be very interesting to go through this. So we'll go through these sides again. Let's not forget that England have got a lot of capability in their squad. With Broad and Anderson there, even though both are not playing this match, Mark Wood suited to the conditions, Ollie Robinson suited to the conditions. They've got very strong bowling attack. Ben Stokes, who we know has got the upper hand when it comes to Australia, especially, well, certainly in England, but as well as here. You've got Jack Leach has experienced success. They've got a lot of great depth there. The batting is probably where the problem starts and finishes. I mean, you've got Hamid and Burns. Hamid's not yet tried and tested here in Australia. But then you've got Milan. Now, Milan's suited to the Australian because they've got Zach Crawley in the back to come out in as well. They've got Bairstow on the wings now to come in. Ollie Pope, well, he's under a lot of pressure for his position. Root, we know, hasn't performed that well in Australia in the past, but is overdue to do well. So that England side's a lot better with Butler being like an Adam Gilchrist. This English side are not to be taken lightly. And the predictions are 3-1 to England, or 3-2 to England, or 2-all as a draw. Very much in favour of England somewhat. Australia's lack of a captain that we're rely on. You've had Tim Payne go at the last minute. Steve Smith not really aware of where he's positioned. He's vice captain, but is he? And there's no talk of Lyon Barama. He said Nathan Lyon has been in rather poor form. You would argue they haven't played Australia has not played a test match since losing at the Gabba in January, quite emphatically to the Indians. That was an amazing test match. Australia has not set foot on a test ground since. That's 10, 11 months ago. And that's quite alarming for any side. Okay, they've had World Cup success only recently. That's great. But Aaron Finch is not playing in, nor is Glenn Maxwell, nor is Stoinis. They're not on the side. Adam Zampa to me should be the next choice after Nathan Lyon, but he's not. Mitchell Swepson has been very ineffective as well. He hasn't proven himself, in my opinion. So there's a lot of doubts and ifs and buts there. The Australian batting lineup, okay. Marcus Harris has played well in county. They're saying Travis Head has played well. I'm not convinced of his form at all. I don't believe, having been dropped the last time he played, to be reinstated on the basis of some matches is enough. I think that Usman Khawaja has belted the door down. Yet he still can't get in. Surprises me. He's got more experience than the majority of that team. Only Smith and Warner would outdo him in terms of real test numbers and test performances in the batting lineup. Marcus Harris, Labuschagne even, and certainly Travis Head, they have not had enough. They don't match Khawaja's experience. So I'd even call Khawaja a potential captain, but it's not happening on Justin Langer's watch. That's for sure. If Langer goes in May, we will see a change going on. Tim Payne's already gone and he won't come back. It'd be very unlikely he comes back. The pressure on Alex Carey as his first time playing as a keeper. Regardless of his somewhat experience around the Australian camp, he hasn't played a test match yet, and that's going to be a concern. I think Josh English would have been ready-made to be in that position from the start. I think they've missed the boat there. A long-term keeper. You listen to Shane Warne talk about things. He would prefer to see Josh English keeping. He would prefer to see someone take the place of Stark, namely Jai Richardson. He would probably have gone for Khawaja, I would say, over Head. And even he's got some doubt as to Harris as well. And even the form of Warner is an equal question. He even got stuck in Nathan Lyon in his form as well. So there's a fair bit going on there. Let's go have a drink, guys. There's a lot to be said about this whole series. This is an Ashes series. Should still be said as the pinnacle of Test cricket, despite the fact that we had a 1-versus-2 series in India a few days ago, and India emphatically beat New Zealand, despite not having Williamson. They were trounced. Ajaz Patel certainly bowled well. He took some 14 wickets, deserved his efforts. Rachin Ravindra was quite sound as well. But overall, New Zealand batting was woeful. Ross Taylor didn't stand up. He should have been more dominant than he was. Dropped a lot of catches. New Zealand did too. But India played particularly well. The bowling of Ravichandran Ashwin, my God, he's already knocking on the door of the top 10 bowlers in the world. He's going to surpass Kapil Dev and be the second highest wicket taker for India. He only has to knock off Kumble at some stage, maybe further down the track, and that'll be the case. India, Akshar Patel bowled well. Even this giant Yadav, the new bowler, or relative new bowler, bowled very, very well. India looked particularly strong. A truckload of young batsmen, Gill, Agarwal, and Shreyas Iyer, magnificent. Rahani's out the door. Ishan Sharma's probably out the door. Rohit Sharma will come back with Rahul. And obviously, Kohli needs to get some runs here and there. But his captaincy's been brilliant. He's been involved with more than 50 successful wins, either as captain or player, in the long format, the T20 and ODI format. The fact that Perth will get, and that's my situation, my thoughts on that. I think that India are definitely number one in the world, without a doubt. New Zealand deservedly were first because of the World Test Championship, but now are placed second. Then from there we get interesting. Is it Australia and England are third and fourth? You would argue that's the case. Through into the making a point there, but will the Aussies retake the Gabba? If ever there was a motivational point for the Australian team, if ever Langer needed a motivational discussion, and in particular Pat Cummins as captain now, and even to a lesser extent Steve Smith, shouldn't they use that as they got smacked handsomely by the Indian team with Rishabh Pant to the fore at the Gabba, and it leads you down the track that Australia will be ruining that decision to play the Gabba Test last when the conditions weren't at their best. It's now at their best. It's green top. It'll be fast and bouncy, maybe a bit gluggy, is the way I describe, where the ball gets held up by the moisture. The reality is it's there. So that's one thing. Let's just turn our mind just for a second to the India versus South African series, which has been delayed and postponed somewhat. I think the first test match now is on the 26th of December, as opposed to a date mid-December. So that'll coincide with the third test. Australia will be the Boxing Day test. So they'll have 3 tests in South Africa, followed by 3 ODIs. And there were meant to be 4 T20s. They're not happening. So that's pushed things back a bit there. Marcus Harris is like Shubman Gill, gets 40s and 50 and then out. I would agree with that. Marcus Harris has not scored a century. How could you leave out a batsman from the Australian team who has scored 8 centuries? Can you explain it to me? Pat Cummins was very, and Steve Smith were very, very clear today. They both said that, oh no, we had the team picked a month ago. That's not the impression I got from either Langer or from George Bailey. But that's what they're saying, that the team was, and even George Bailey was quite confident saying one of the batsmen, under the 2 batsmen is ahead. Well, I defy how you could say Travis Head was ahead of. Tell me how Travis Head was ahead of Usman Khawaja, and more so ahead of even Marcus Harris. Statistically, Marcus Harris is nowhere near what Usman Khawaja has done for some time at all. He's played a number of tests now, Marcus Harris hasn't scored a century. Khawaja scored 8. Batting averages are good in all formats. Captain the Queensland side to win the South Africa Seal. What more credentials do you want? Okay, Travis had got a few big scores earlier on in the year, but he hasn't really been pressing big at the last stages of the last few matches. In fact, Khawaja very nicely gave up his batting to allow the team to declare at some point one of his Shield matches. So realistically, the selection is bewildering. It's only for 2 tests. It's only for the Gabba and the Adelaide tests. That leaves a succession of tests, 3 more, Melbourne, Sydney, and probably Hobart, or again Melbourne, Sydney. Wait and see. And then one of them maybe a day night or a second day night. If that's the case, 3 of those matches will be in grounds that really deserve a better batting lineup. Now, Travis Head's under enormous pressure. If he does not perform the first 6 matches, you have to bring Khawaja in. Marcus Harris doesn't perform. Khawaja also should be opted for. It's intriguing to see what actually happens there. We know that Labuschagne and Smith are pretty good for it, and Warner normally would perform, but a lot of pressure on those 3 as well. Cameron Green, he's looked pretty admirable with his batting and pretty reasonable bowling, but hasn't taken any wickets yet. He's played a handful of tests. It's a lot of pressure on Alex Carey. Never played for Australia before. He debuts in this match. He can bat, but let's see it all come together, because there's a few ifs. I've got no sentiment Harris, Head, or Alex Carey. They're all 3 new. There'll be a reliance on those 3, but they'll go probably more towards Labuschagne, Smith, and obviously Warner. They're the ones with some more ability on board. So we'll wait and see how that turns out. But it's not impressive at all. I'm rather perturbed by the Australian side. I think there's a lot of issues, again, around the captaincy. Aranav Marathi saying 4-1 Australia. Nathan Lyon will get his 400th wicket. Well, he bloody well better. He's only got to get 1. See, Shane Warne, I'd love to see him as either a chief selector or a coach of Australia. I really would. I think he knows what needs to be. He's more gutsier and he's forthright in his decisions. He would put in he would have gone for Josh Inglis as a keeper. He would have gone for potentially another spinner ahead of the line. Well, wait and see how that goes. He is a bit of a Swepson fan, but I would be still looking back to Zampa. Zampa to me is all class. Bukowski, unfortunately, is gone. Marcus Harris returns to the fore there, but we'll wait and see whether he's the answer. It's going to be interesting. And I'm predicting Labuschagne won't have a good series. Why will Labuschagne not have a good series? Because he's been batting quite consistently and for a long time. And he's almost due for something not good to happen. My favourite test batsman is Joe Root. Good on you, Mohammed Zaid. England are really in it. What about the battle between Root and Cummins? That'll be interesting because they're captains. I think Cummins has to be at mid-off or mid-on, preferably mid-off. He has to be close to the bowler. He needs to be in earshot of the whole game. He cannot be down a fine leg. Of course, he's not opening the bowling, so it looks like Stark and Hazelwood will probably have those honours. And if that's the case, he'll go first change. So he will be able to be in a position like mid-off or cover or even gully or somewhere a little bit closer to the action to then be able to make the decision about who bowls when. But I'm going to be the body language between Pat Cummins and Steve Smith will be very interesting during the test. If there's a lot of what's the word for it? There's a lot of exaggerated discussion. It could bring Pat Cummins' captaincy on side. I think Root should go for the juggler. They may not be positioned at this early stage to win the first Test match. It is meant to be an Australia victory, but we'll wait and see. In fact, how that pans out. If by some fluke that the English can win that first test, it's going to be amazing. But I predict they probably won't, but they're going to come back hard with Adelaide and Melbourne and may well go 2-1 up and have a sneak test where it might go Australia's way and bring it to 2-2. Then where that fifth test will be very important. Who'll be the leading run scorer for the Ashes? They're asking me. You would think that Warner and Smith and Labuschagne will be the ones that will have to stand up and have to produce, and that will be where the Achilles heel is. If they don't, and it falls into England's hands, Root hasn't had a great series before. He may well be up in Milan. I think Zach Crawley will be in the lineup at some stage. We'll see how Hamid goes, but I think we'll see Zach Crawley in there before too long, and that would certainly his batting performance, batting style certainly suits what we see here at the Gabba, and for any other grounds, it will really suit him. So thanks, guys, for joining me tonight. I've got more people waiting to bring on. I'm going to bring on some more people. I mean, Alan Mullally was someone else who would like to come on. Chris Verner's not around. I'd like to hear Chris's perspective of this. Chris is someone we've had Marcus Lawrence, of course, as well. I'm sorry, Chris Verner is. Let's have a look. I'm on TV. I'm just letting the captain of Malaysia, Winifred Durasame, know where I am. She is asking how I am. So, lovely girl that she is. PKMKB forever. PKMKB forever. Let me explain that one to him. Would you prefer Head or Khawaja? Lachlan Brodie, I would, without a shadow of a doubt, have gone for Khawaja. His experience, especially in Australian pitches, he's been particularly good. I think he's a better prospect. They were talking about age being relevant, that Travis said is somewhat younger. Well, I don't think that's relevant. I think it's relevant who's the best player to play. Zampa's another person who's not been even getting any consideration. He works his charm when it comes to playing the short form. I'd have Zampa in there. Shane Warne is someone to listen to. Shane Warne and to a lesser extent in Chapel. Yeah, I would definitely. I'm just asking Winifred to make a comment. Okay. I've got a question here from Joshi. If England managed to beat Australia at home in this series, that would be incredibly legitimate. That just needs to find that they're able to capitalise on the opponent's weaknesses. Yeah, well, it is about, and I think Broad Anderson really worked out that very well. Really, Steve Smith and Warner and to a lesser extent Labuschagne I'd say that you have to suggest that the Warner, Smith, Labuschagne trio will be very, very important. You can't rely on Travis Head's not to be relied upon. I think there's a certain amount of overratedness. That's a term on Head. I just don't think I haven't got enough faith in his batting to be sure. He has scored Test hundreds, I believe. Yes, he has. But Labuschagne, Khawaja scored 8 centuries. Not 1 or 2 or 3, but 8. 44 matches. He was always impressive for me. I think there's a lot more to be said about Khawaja in the series. I really think that we're going to see a lot more of that man. And I think he's going to be very, very important. I'm going to try and get a partner on. A partner should be. She promised me she's going to Mitch Swepson or Nathan Lyon. Lachlan Brown. Lyon still stays in there, but Swepson could be usurped by Zampa. I would like to see that happen. I would have hoped that would be the case. Okay, so let's look at some of the other questions. All the best. Thank you very much. I agree. Khawaja is the ideal pick. Main cause for success in the T20 World Cup was Langer taking a backseat and allowing players to take their own decision. Must repeat. Yep, totally right. It's very, very true. It may be just like a backseat effort, but if that's the backseat, then you would have to see, for God's sake, he. I just think that Langer, frustratingly, his captaincy's got to come to a point. Zampa is a good choice, I think so. Prediction, please. I've been talking predictions for quite a while now. Okay, the Gabba, because of the wicket that it is, the fact that Sean Abbott debuting. Sean Abbott's not debuting. He's still not quite there. Realistically, the Gabba should be called a fortress for Australia as a first test. Under the conditions of the bowling early on, it'll be much faster, much more bouncing. Somewhat gluggy, where the ball will probably hit and lift slower. But it will suit Australia, and Australia should win the first test, especially if they bat first. But of course, no Anderson there is disappointment, but I think Anderson could well be kept for the Adelaide test and beyond, and could become very important. The first test, they can probably get away with having Wood, Robinson, and Broad. And Broad's going to be huge. Broad should open the bowling and take on Warner very early. Very, very early. Should be the case. And if that is the case, it'll be quite a masterstroke. But yeah, I'm still predicting Australia to win the first test. But then Adelaide, I think it'll be very much England's, especially with the day-night nature and Anderson bowling with Broad. I think you'll see that that'll go to England to make it 1-1. And going to Melbourne, India did that there. I think they could see England win that as well, and perhaps Sydney winning the 4th, which would mean 2-2. And if it's played in Hobart, it's anyone's series. It could well be 3-2 England. Back to Melbourne and Sydney, it may be slightly more even, but it's anyone's at 2-2. Anyone's to win. Absolutely. Riley North, the fastest bowler in Australia. Any chance of him playing to script? No, he's not good enough. I'm sorry. 3-1 in favour of Australia, as Punter correctly said. Yeah, Punter would say that 3-1. But there's 5 matches, so what is one going to be drawn? It's based on rain, maybe. That's the only way it can be a draw. Put it that way, but I would say that no, I don't think it's as conclusive as that. I think 3-2 England. That's my thoughts, my humble thoughts. I just can't see Australia through their lacking of strength in their captaincy. In fact, Alex Carey's new. The batting has overall been pretty ordinary, and they have more so not so much being ordinary. They simply have not had any playing time. Australia last played a test in January against England at the Gabba and were unceremoniously smashed. So that tells me That's the last Test match they got. The South African tour was called off. They didn't play anything over the summer season in Europe or England. They prepared for the World Cup. They played some atrocious matches against West Indies and Bangladesh away, and they didn't play any Test cricket at all. The South African tour was called off. Whereas England have played a lot of Test cricket, especially against India. And they've had a lot of opportunities. The World Test Championship was around the corner as well. They weren't involved with it, but they certainly have had a lot of exposure. England are a lot more battle hardened than Australia are, and they came in pretty early, so they're acclimatised quite well. Look, there's a lot of positives to be made from this situation. Indeed, I don't think there's no issues at all with the England preparation. Weather in Brisbane at this stage is pretty poor, but maybe like a mid-afternoon squall, as they would call. So, but play is also due to be played every day. You want to have Australia's dominance and tests again. Well, they're going to have to do that when they get a steady enough captain. They haven't got a steady enough captain yet, so they're going to worry about that next. It's a big issue for Australia. Here's the captaincy. There's no doubt. Chet on Sable says Aussie will win 5-0. That's not going to happen. I categorically don't think that's going to happen. I think there's very little chance of Australia winning 5-0. What can be the possible reason for Anderson not? It's just simply injury. He has got a niggle. They want to rest him. Probably best to rest him early and have him come up in with a late crescendo. He's probably more needed in Adelaide, Melbourne, and Sydney than he is in Brisbane. They've got the likes of Wood and Robinson there to take more of a toll there. Crowd certainly is allowed. Yep, as far as I'm aware, it's full capacity crowd, especially in Queensland. In Adelaide, it's pretty much close to that now. Melbourne and Sydney will be pretty much that way anyway. I think it might be seated rather than standing, but that's all right. I think we'll be in the position to do that. Well, the Perth are blown because of their border restrictions, which is just quite ridiculous. We will see a crowd, but we're not seeing an international crowd. That means the true English supporters, the Barmy Army, or David Speake being a member of them, they're not coming over at all. So there will be a lack of noise in the crowd, which will be detrimental to England somewhat. Player of the series, Smith or Root, maybe Cummins, the captaincy is maybe the important part of it. Mitchell Charles says, would love to watch how Robinson goes in the Ashes. He's definitely a match winner. I think so too. What is playing both teams? Well, Nayan Fadik, I did talk about that already. The Australian side will repeat that. Looks like Harris is going to open with Warner, followed by number 3 will be Labuschagne, 4 Root, 5 will be Head, 6 will be Green, 7 will be Alex Carey in his debut, and the bowlers of Cummins, Stark, Hazelwood, Lyon, or thereabouts. That's your 11. The Australian side. The England side is a 12-man team with probably one player to leave out, but they're going to probably open with Hamid Burns, followed by Milan, Root at number 4. 5 will be probably, I'm going to guess and say Stokes or Pope at 6. And then 7 will be Butler. Then the bowling comes into play. Leaving Leach out for the moment. They may go with the quartet of Robinson, Broad, Wood, and Wokes. With, of course, as I said, the other bowler being Ben Stokes is in the batting line, which I've mentioned. So there's your 2 teams. Play the series 2 on the call. Yeah, it is. Where is Matthew Wade? Matthew Wade's not a test player. He was dropped some time ago. They've got other keepers. They've got 2 or 3 keepers in line above him. He won't just get in for his batting, even though he was often positioned that way earlier on. He won't get in there because of his batting. I'm pretty sure of that. Very, very, very interesting series indeed. Okay. Where is Matthew? Okay. Will the point from Ashes be counted in the world? Of course they will be. They're part of the World Test Championship without a doubt. No doubt. But the way India and New Zealand playing, you would argue that India would beat these 2 sides, and they have beaten England already, and certainly beaten Australia. So that would see India one through. New Zealand, they have to get Williamson back pretty soon to be sure of that. Who will win the series? I'm still thinking England just because of the change from Perth to an East Coast location. I don't think Sark can be effective. He's out of form where he has been. They're saying he's bowling well on the nets. They're defending him profusely there of his bowling the nets, but I'm not exactly sure. What do you think about Stark? He had a horrific bad World Cup. Very poor situation indeed for his performances. They were well below par, and a scoreline prediction for this. Abhishek Singh wants to know for this particular Test match. Well, Australia, if they win and toss and bat first, will be getting a 300 plus scorecard. England should get close to that, and then Australia will bat again. Depending on elections, will get 250 odd, and leave England with a 250 to 300 total, which will make it quite difficult. And it may be very close, but I think you may just see Australia snuck in. But England will take a lot out of that. So the day has finally arrived. Glad to see new captain Pat Cummins. Seems a very nice person. He certainly is, and I wish him the best. I said, don't want to talk or predict results, but need some tight matches. We will get that, don't worry. I think also England team will win. I think so too. Warner back to his best. Well, he looked pretty good in the short format, but this is Test cricket, mind you. And he himself will be the first person to say that, no, that won't be that easy to imagine. So, no, I've got a lot of faith in Warner, but he's got to stop mucking around with the captaincy discussions. Stark little change of action might cost him. Yeah. We all in India are so excited to watch this. I'll have a preview show before the match tomorrow morning, which will be very early in Indian time. But we'll see how we go. What do you think about Nathan Lyon? Nathan Lyon still worthy of his position. Stark little change of action might be costing. Yeah, I think it might throw him. We talked about it before. But no, I think Nathan Lyon's still up there. He'll get his 400 Test cricket. Test cricket is real cricket, exactly. Less sledging can definitely help Australia to win the series. Well, the sledging won't be coming from the English crowd. The Birmingham are not going to be there. They're certainly lacking in numbers, and that's not their fault. It was just being restricted just purely because of COVID. Do you think it'll miss Archer, or will it not make it? Oh, yes, they're going to miss Archer for sure. He's genuine pace, absolutely. Pre-show itself, 5:30 a.m. in Indian time. It'll be probably earlier than that. It'll probably be earlier than that. Surprise, surprise. It certainly is. I want you all to watch because I'm going to be here for the pre-shows, post-shows. We're going to have a lot of great guests on. The partner's going to line us all up as well. The pre-show will be, what time is it? It's 10 o'clock. It'll be like 4:30 in the morning, even 4 in the morning. History has shown us when Australia starts well, they finish 5-0 against England, but they have how to play well. So, yeah, I don't think they're going to win 5-0. Marnus Robinson, man of the match for the first test. Okay. And you're alive, more than 70% of people watching from India. Not necessarily. Even if they are, that means they love cricket. I don't mind where they're from. If people are from India, I'm more than happy. I have a great rapport with India. I have a lot of great friends in India, and they got like Buri Majumdar, who's, well, no, he's my very first live, and I'm very proud of that, actually. Very, very first live he was. Very, very first live. Very impressive numbers, guys, we've had tonight. Very, very good. So just tell me more about what your predictions are, guys. I want it in Australia battling for final. Well, you think India will be there again, but whether Australia make it, they have to start here. They have to start playing well right here. And that's going to be a tough one. Very, very tough one to play well this early in the season here. Hope Carey sledges Stokes behind the stumps. Well, Alice Carey's not a known hard talker. We love cricket, but not Australia. Okay, fair enough. I don't know whether the reality of Carey has really got the strength of character to play Australian Test cricket. I don't know. Josh Inglis seems to be more of that man. I rather like the look of Josh Inglis. He impresses me no end. I think Josh Inglis is a big, big person to have. So, guys, make sure you follow that. It's going to be extremely, extremely useful. This whole series, we're going to have a very heavily covered. A lot of special guests. Will Joe Root continue his form in the series? I hope he does. He has apparently not played well in Australia before, so that's why is Bancroft not in the squad. Bancroft's just not good enough. He has not played well for many of a year, and he's short form has been okay, but long form, no. Pat Cummins will be the best bowler in this battle. I think we could see the age of Pat Cummins really come to the fore. I think we might see Pat Cummins really stand up here, and he's batting as well. He'll be fully responsible. He seems to be that sort of person. As long as he gets back up, he'll be okay. But he doesn't need to rely on Smith. He needs to decide when to use Smith, and that's crucial as anything. Very crucial. Very, very, very crucial. We've got some great videos there already. I've got a couple from Latham that I produce. They're obviously related to the India New Zealand matches, but I will post them, guys, overnight, so you got something to watch. Winnie, I'm hoping Winnie comes on the phone. It's going to be very interesting to see what happens. We've got a video from New Zealand head coach pre-departure press conference. We had the it's been a fair bit of action. 2019 Ashes double century, Smith best pair. Look, you'd have to think that Smith will be very influential. Very, very influential indeed. I think he will show himself to be well and truly in the hunt, and he deserves it. He's a good player, but whether he should be captain is my true bugbear. I don't believe he should be captain. I really don't. It's just not right. I just think there's a bit of a mistake there when they put him in there.
Thanks, mate. It's more about my opening ability. Gary.
So Gary.
Sum up the tour.
Gary Seaton, I've summed up the tour. I think that's going to be rather a shock to the whole system. Let's have a look at I get that one there. So I've got to find, there's another video which came out a bit earlier. What's this? I'm getting some messages, guys. I think it's regarding weather at first. There will be some weather problems. There's no doubt the weather will play a major part in this. I think that it'll be late afternoon, like 3 or 4. We might miss out on some end of day's play. So that means get in there early and take advantage of the situation. I think that's what the key will be for sure. So I'm going to release some videos that Gary Sneed, the New Zealand captain, and obviously Tom Latham, post-match type scenarios, see what they think of the way that the series went. Yeah, we'll play those videos soon. All right. So we're into the 8th of December now, which is in Australian time. It's certainly the time for the match. So I think Pat Cummins will be the key. He certainly will. Will Joe Root continue to fly? I think he certainly will. England's prediction 2-1. I think actually 3-2. Who's the best batsman? Root or Smith or King Coley? Well, currently Root's the leader of that crop. Smith hasn't played, and Coley's a bit indifferent at the moment. Let's go England 2-1. The same 2-1. There's 5 matches. He only had 3 victories and 2 draws. Joe Root will continue his series, no doubt. Very much impressed with Joe Root. No doubt that he'll be very significant indeed. 15, 17, 19, Ashes double century, Smith best pair. Well, let's see what he does it again. Let's see if he's up to it. Let's see if he can do that again. So 1 to 11 to 12, 12 to 1. Yeah, there's a lot of good things there. A lot of good things to be seen in this amazing situation. But yeah, just to go recap again, England's batting lineup is Hamid with Burns. First drop will be Milan. I'm very impressed with that selection. We've also got Zach Crawley sitting there. Second drop, Root. Impressed with his selection. Batting number 5 is Pope. Bit iffy about his position, but we'll see how he goes. 6, Stokes. Could be ahead or whatever. Great batter. Butler, 7. The Adam Gilchrist of his time. Could well be the one that they rely on heavily. The bowling lineup, take the spinner Leach out, they're going to bowl all four. Broad, Robinson, obviously Wood, and Works. And and Stokes. Stokes. And of course, Joe Root can bowl with a spin if they really need it. That's my viewpoint on England. Very strong side. Bairstow, unfortunately, not the side. I would have had him in there somewhere. Australia's lineup. Harris is a concern. Head's a concern. Alex Carey's a concern. Three distinct concerns in that squad. One with Harris opening. Labuschagne, always pretty solid, but he's needing to get his not to have a failure. Smith paramount that he bats well. Then you got Travis Head, Iffy, Cameron Green. Certainly bats quite well. Bowling, he's got to take wickets. Alex Carey, concerning. New captain, new keeper. Cummins, it's all in front of you. He's got to bat well. And then, of course, you've got, after Cummins, you've got Stark, Hazelwood, and Lyon in that mix. Very interesting. Very interesting comparison. The game starts tomorrow. Let me just confirm the time that it starts, actually. I need to have a look at that. We'll return to Stokes to give edge in England for sure. Huge. Johnny Bear should have been played. I would have had him too. The saying Australia still are Ashes favourites, but a lot along the line begins to come era. So really, it's a bit like England braced for return to bush tucker trails. And actually, what are the difference? Okay. In the Pakistan-Bangladesh game, by the way, Pakistan declared the second test at 4 for 300, and it got Bangladesh 7 for 76. In Pakistan's performance, they had Shakib Al Hussain had 23 not out. I saw the scoreboard there. They had Pakistan had Abid Ali 39, Abdul Shafiq 25, Azhar Ali got again a 56, Babar Azam got 76, Fawad Alam got 50, and Mohammad Rizwan 53. Batted well, but then Sajid Khan took 6 for 35. Wow. And they're 7 down. They've had nothing but hell in their innings. I think Shakib Al Hussain's got 23 out of the 76. They're in a bit of a mess, no doubt. Now, where is that performance? Series, Ashes. Okay, so Australia play England in the first test at 11 a.m., which is in fact 10 a.m. The time of Queensland. So 11 a.m. in England, for example, 11 a.m. in England is what? It's 11 hours behind. So if it's 11 a.m. the game starts, it's midnight that it starts, England time. So if I start my broadcast about 9:30 or 9:30, they'll be starting at about 10:30 England time. Interesting to see how they go. About 10:30 England time when the match starts, whether people will be up at that stage. And then after it, it'll be more morning. It'll be bloody early morning, 7 o'clock in the morning. Whatever. So 7 or 8 o'clock in the morning is when they need to get there together. So that's interesting. Yes, there's a lot to be said about this series. Okay. So really just unknown quantity. It is they call it a bit of a lottery, this first match, actually. Ajas, Ahmed, are you from okay. Should Maxwell get a test match? I would love to see him playing test cricket. I would absolutely love him to play test cricket. Root versus Cummins. This time Root, he scored 4 centuries. Well, Root needs to score big because he hasn't really done well in Australia before. It doesn't mean he's not capable of it. Maybe it's one thing that he wants to sort out himself is to bat well in Australia. Very, very interesting indeed. be a lot of eyes should be watching this tomorrow. We're going to have you're going to be up, guys. If I get on about 9:30, that's actually 4 in the morning Indian time. 4 in the morning. Will you get up 5:30 in the morning to watch this? Let's hope. And the third unofficial test in Bloemfontein, you've got South Africa 8, 268, and India 8, 441.38. I didn't see what the scores are there. Isham Kashan's on 28 and Vihari's on 42. Pretty sure got 5. Ezawaran got 28. He may stay there. Padikal 8. Vihari, who's captain, got 42. Sarafaz Khan got 14. And Ishan Kashan, who's keeping, is on 28. Still to play there is Gotham, Kumar, Navdeep Sani, Deepak Chahar, and Ishan Perel. Marco Jansen, who's a chance eventually to come to a side for South Africa. There's pretty, you got a wicket, they all got a wicket each. Oh boy, what a series it's going to be. There's going to be a lot to talk about. Absolutely huge amount to talk about. Ask me questions, guys. It's 5:30 a.m. in India when the game starts. You're right. Should T20 be international or 100 bowl challenge would play? I'm a bit disillusioned by both of them. I'm sorry. T10 cricket's way too short. It's now getting out of hand. And as far as the 100 is concerned, I didn't appreciate the game, but I didn't have much time for it. It hasn't registered in my thoughts because it's only been played in England. It's not been played anywhere else. It's not a designated international tournament, far from being in that position. So it's novelty value for England at the moment. They need it because of, well, that's what's needed, but they're doing it to try to gain a different audience, which is to be respected. I'll be honest with you. It certainly is. Your take on South African squad selection. You're talking about the one that's playing against India. Well, the quota system is going to kill them. They're going to have not their best team on the paddock. There's going to be dissension in the ranks. There's not much good to talk about that at all at this point. Let's be honest, it's quite disturbing. Indeed. Tomorrow's weather forecast for the first test is going to be playable conditions with a bit of rain around that 3-4 o'clock mark. That's what I'm hearing. What is future of Test cricket? It's not going anywhere. Too many people that love it. The spectators that want something else, I agree, I can see that, but it's still a long way from not being wanted. Good to have you all back. You've gone and done other things, but I think the series coming up is going to be huge. A watershed moment for some of us. Pat Cummins, I cannot see lasting. I'm sorry. He's a lovely player, he'll survive as a bowler, but he won't be surviving as captain. Let's be honest, it's a fair. He knows himself he's under a bit of pressure. He says nothing's different. He'll notice it when he's got to be positioned at mid-off for almost the entire time. He can't be at final leg. That'll be a travesty. For the captain at final leg on a regular basis. That doesn't make any sense to me. Trying to get some. Oh boy. But yeah, Bangladesh are being smacked, to say the least. Oh, jeez. So, 1600. That's some good numbers there. I don't want. It's going to be interesting. So Queensland boards opening on December 13th, 1 a.m. in the morning, Uncle 1 a.m. in the morning means the game finishes on the previous day. So we don't get to see 8th, 9th, 10th, 11th, 12th. We don't get to see any of that match the day after we can get there, which is pretty bloody useless. I'm not impressed by that at all. I don't know what a few days would have made in terms of difference at all. I still have to get this test. I shouldn't have to get any test. I don't know. I just don't know. I just a bit disillusioned with the whole testing scenario in Queensland. Perth is not playing in the 5th test. Why? Because of COVID restrictions. The first test, thankfully, we got away with it, but they've also restricted a lot in what's happened there as well. And it's very, very frustrating to say the least. There's a lot to be said about this, and it's just not good enough, I'm afraid. Just not good enough. We're fast approaching 3 million in terms of views, guys, which is very pleasing for me. I'm getting well wishes from Winifred Durasam. It's so sweet. So sweet. I don't know when he's going on. She's not watching the show, which disappoints me. Great to have you guys back. Queensland borders opening as a whoopie-doo. It's not going to help anyone. It's just too late. But I will be going to Adelaide. The Brisbane test, I'm obviously in Sydney. I can't go, but I'll be getting information for that first match. Then we've got the second Adelaide. I'll be there for sure for that. The third match, probably I'll be in Melbourne for that, and definitely in the fourth test here in Sydney. And the fifth test, I'll make a point of getting whoever it is. That'd be nice. Huge selections to be made. Huge selections. Let's see what we've got here. We've got this one here. 907, 594. That's a huge number. Thanks a lot, Norman. Love your analysis. Thank you, Uncle. I hope you've got something from it, because I have a lot more to say. I'm very discerning with the Australian situation. I think that Australia is just not there yet. I mean, again, the major focal points in the Australian side, a new keeper, never a good thing. A new set of batsmen, Travis Head, who just hasn't been in great form, even though he scored centuries domestically, is not the right pick. It's what Osman Khawaja is. And then the captaincy of Pat Cummins. Is he up to it? Is he going to rely too heavily on Smith? Or Smith going to be doing things from first slip? Is this running around the boundary at finally, or is he going to go and take a strong move and go into keeping? That's the question I've got. They're my questions, and I've got my doubts about that. All right. All right, guys, we're starting to, for the first time, go below 20 watching. So stay tuned tomorrow morning, well, at least tomorrow morning, my time. At around the 9:30, 10 o'clock mark, I will have my show. You're 5.5 hours behind, so it'll be roughly 5:30, 4:30, 4 to 4:30, I'll be on in the morning your time. Sorry, India, it's not much fun. In England's case, they're 11 hours behind, so if I'm on at 9:30, that's effectively 10:30 their time. Okay, so that's possible. Go on gangbusters here. A lot to be said for this. High saw PS. You know, it's one of those series that you need to really knuckle down and play. It's 5 test series. 5 test series is effectively 25 days of cricket. That's a marathon for any player, I must say. Definitely, it's a huge situation. But thank you guys for your subscribing. I'm very pleased with that. I've got a number of new subscribers, and I won't let you down. I'll be here morning, noon, and night. I'm not going anywhere. It certainly has improved greatly. $13 or $15? Let's go on 15. On 16. All right. I'm for waiting Ashes start this. It's going to be quite magnificent. Huge uplift for sure. Huge uplift. Upturn to cricket, I think. We're going to see some serious cricket now, guys. I'm really impressed with this. It's going to be one hell of a struggle. see some serious cricket, guys. I'm really impressed with this. It's going to be one. Just want to see that Palmer's. I wonder if Palmer's done that. I wonder if she's got this going. Okay. All right. So, can we make Pat or Stark see and Vice see in tomorrow's Test match? It'll be diabolical if Pat and if they're both buggered. They'll be going back to Smith again. I kind of agree with someone other than Smith. I kind of see that point of view too. I can't see it happening though. It's been nothing but frustrating to see what's going on. I'm not happy at all. But look, we're going to make do with what we've got. We can't argue with that. It's always going to be an issue. Absolutely going to be an issue. All right, guys, I'm going to be on tomorrow morning at about 9:30 a.m. Australian time, which is 5.5 hours early. We'll make it 4 in the morning your time, 4 to 4:30, with the game starting at 11. So 4 to 4:30 with a 5:30 starting point. So you'll be waking up to the Test match, which is amazing. Then there'll be a post session. It's a pre and post session to occur. The post session around about 6 p.m. my time, which will be around the 12:30 mark in India, and around the 7 a.m. mark in England. So they're going to be watching 10 o'clock at night, waking up and saying the end of it. We'll see how they sleep. They'll get used to my sleeping patterns, which I've had for the last 6 months, which have been atrocious for the masses in India, and for that matter in England. They've been really poor, but now it's the shoes on my foot, and I'm hello, Sai Krishna. Hello, you haven't been here for a long time. Good old Sai Krishna, nice to see you. We've had good numbers today on the show. I've had David Gravelly and Marcus Lawrence, who's called Munchie, on the show. Both were very well received. And we certainly have a huge bunch of people here now. The 3418 having watched. Gosh. So 1,327 watched the first half hour. 2,350 have watched the last 39 minutes. How's the pitch there? It's going to be green top. It's going to probably be a lot of bounce and carry. Might be a bit bloggish and might stick. But yeah, the pitch will be fast, bouncy, and ready to go. Absolutely ready to go. No fear about that. It's going to be one hell of a pitch. One hell of a pitch. Ask me questions, guys. You'll notice James Anderson's out of the side. Broad's there still. So they got Broad, Anderson is not there. So Broad, Wokes, Stokes is there as well. Robinson and Wood. There's quite a few bowlers actually. Hey Norman, who do you think will win the toss? Well, I'm going to say to you, son, will win the toss and bat. Will Ben Stokes play? Ben Stokes is absolutely playing. Absolutely playing. No fear of him not playing. No fear at all. It's been a long while since I had a big number. We had 4-9 preview the Super 12s back in October. Will Ben Stokes play? I've mentioned that before. I already answered that question. Oh, it's great to see. Who do you think will dominate in first match? I think Australia will have a bit of dominance there, but it won't be forever. Can we expect a match like Headley? Maybe not this one. I would say it will happen in the future. What is your prediction, Norman, for this exact Ashes? I said 2-2 with the last match, and the balance could well be 3-2 England. England absolutely lose. Well, yeah, generally you would say that's right, but I'm not sure this time. Joff Archer is not in the squad. He will not play. Nihar is not. He's not named, so he's not playing. Unfortunately, for Test cricket, it's unfortunate. Who will score more runs, Smith or Root? Smith. Overcastings will help fast bowlers from both sides. Correct. I would say 3-1 Australia win the series. Well, I'd like to think that, but I'm afraid I can't think that. Smith versus Jimmy will exist. I'm not waiting. I won't play this much. Lay it on the line. Batsmen score more runs. Generally, it'll be a clear handling time match. Khawaja should have been it. Well, he won't be next best. It will be the third Test match. That's the way it'll probably crumble. I'll be with you. I'm the one. You. It's a rather, it's frustrating. To me, out for the first test, correct, he has an injury. And they prefer to rest him. He's still got 4 tests where he can really prove his mental. Don't worry. I'll be the first thing to score. I think Australia should have for more than 300. Can we see Smith captain for one other test match? Yes, we certainly can. England is weak, but are we overrating Australia? A little bit. Will Stokes play at the opening? Of course he will. No, Ferry will be there early on. For sure. If you're there, please subscribe. Hit the notification button. View, like, and share the post at Norm Koch, which is there. Is in fact my Instagram and my Twitter. I also have a YouTube channel which you know about, which is 20,119 as we speak. It's gone well. So Jimmy out from the first test. That's right. Warner, well, he's there, but is he there in spirit or there to play? That's an interesting thing. Lay it on the line. Yeah, it's gonna be. I'm very excited. I'm very confident they'll show in the first test. Whether they'll win more, it's going to ebb and flow. That's what we typically expect. This is ebbing and flowing of the matches. I'm going to get some biscuits because I think there's some chocolates out there. Give me a second. Just looking for some chocolates, guys. There's always hidden chocolates somewhere here. I can see a pink tea and a crunchy and more. Let's see 3 looking at me. All right, let's see who's going to win the match. Which one of these tells you that Morrow? Have you heard of Morrow? No, next match he won't play until at least the 3rd test match. This squad selection is based on the first 2 test matches. Unless there's an injury, Richards won't be in the first 2. Oh. The Warner board battle will be very interesting. What's your thoughts on Marvis? I think he's a bit overrated. Often. Robert Muller, 89. Who will be the replacement for Jimmy Anderson together? Look, if they play all 4 bowlers, which they're expected to, in the 12. They've got Leach. So they'll probably opt not to play Leach. So they all will go in. Wood, Robinson, Broad, and Works. 4. Open with Broad and Robinson. Wood will be first change, then Works and Stokes. And if needed, Root. Not a bad playing song. And they're batting. Hamid and Burns will open with Milan at 3, Root at 4. Pope looks like he's got 5th with Stokes at 6, or reverse it all around with Butler coming in the keeper 7. So realistically, Pope's got a big opportunity here. He's got to take it, because if he doesn't, he's got Bairstow on his ankles wanting to get in. Uncle Nick, you reckon Australia's middle looks very strong? What, head? Yeah, Cameron Green, yes. Alex Carey. 2 of those players, argue shouldn't have been in the side. Hello, Ally Croatian. How could you say that the middle order of Australia is strong? It doesn't look strong at all. No way, but Stokes will make the middle order strong. I'm talking about the England players. I thought you meant the Australian team. Maybe England will go with one spinner. What Leach? Undoubtedly. Undoubtedly they could, but I would say no. You're throwing swear words at me, guys. I'm not sure what that word is. I maintain that England will win 3-2. It's quite incredible. My John and Mohan Ali, Mohan Ali's actually retired as far as I'm concerned, but I would have had him in the side if he was hit available. And Bairstow, well, I think he should have been ahead of. What will both sides do if they win the toss and bat? They'll win the toss and bat. There'll be play on day 1. Yes, there should be play on day 1. Don't discount that. No play on day 1. Amazing book. They really have got a big series coming. Isn't it meant to be raining? Well, yes, but the rain typically in the tropical zone rains around 3 to 4 p.m. So that late afternoon wind with rain should occur. Aussies are still favourites this year, but not by much. As I said, not much. Uncle, the middle order of Australia ain't strong. Gary shouldn't be their head needs replacing with Usman. I totally agree. Well, totally agreement with what you're saying there. Lay it on the line. Be with you. Be the one. Hare Krishna. I'm not singing Hare Krishna. Sir Joe Root, how best playing here. How pleasant. He's playing well, but he's not playing at home, so it might be difficult. Opening partnership is critical both sides. So exactly. Burns and Hamid look a little bit more solid. As far as Australia's looking back, well, I haven't got a partner which is worthy of being with Warner Harris. That's my big concern. Hello, Situ Chowdhury Situ. Winning the Boston bat Neha Trivedi win the toss and bat. That's the way I'll go. All right. I'm the one. Radio. Amazing. I'm Indian. Well, Charlie, how are you? Are you a fan, brother Daniel? Of course. Yeah, buddy. They'll win the first test. I think Australia win the first test, followed by the second will go to England. Third test will probably go to England. Fourth test will go to Australia, 2-2. Then it comes into a fifth test match decider, and whether it'll be Hobart, it'll favour England. Melbourne, Sydney, could be Australia. Either way, wait and see. Gabba best for the first test batting. Well, that's true. Also important for their bowling. Very impressive, guys. I'm also Indian speak. My name. I'm your old subscriber. AJ's Ahmed. How are you? Australia bowling better than England. I wouldn't say that. Who is the key bowler for England this series? The Anderson Broad combination would have to be it. Who will be the top run scorer? I would say Warner or Smith. Reigns. George Hill going to give 5 hours from me. Okay. What if 2-1 Aussie win? It could be. But I think it's going to be more England's way. I'm Indian. Well done. Lay on the line. No Barmy Army. That's going to be quite. Where am I from? I'm from Sydney in Australia. Coogee Beach, Sydney in Australia, be in effect, correct. Quite remarkable. Not getting more questions, guys. You have to ask me more questions before I cark it here. I'm from Sydney, Australia. I told you before. You didn't watch my video with a partner, guys. Why would you watch my video with a partner? That's good stuff. Deal with you. I want to be the best wicket taker. Most wickets taker. I'm still thinking Broad or Anderson, to be honest. From Australia's perspective, maybe Hazelwood, if he bowls to his ability, which he should. We've gone 2 hours, guys. Where's the partner? Did she fall asleep? She's got a very nice jacket. Copyright for what? My singing? Please sing an Indian song. How can I sing that? Who will be X Factor for England and Australia? X Factor for England will be Wokes, Stokes. Australia, Warner, probably in the bowling. Cummins, because of his captaincy, will want to bowl well. What is numbers of Coronial country? They're pretty low. We've got 95% or thereabouts vaccinated. We're done. Do we need to worry about COVID? No, how goes going out. Only even Queensland's opening the gates the day after the tests. The only one is WA, Western Australia, that are keeping it closed. Therefore, they've lost the chance of having a test. We. I think Burns is better than Harris. I would say so. Anybody's going to score a double century in the series. It'll be a Warner or a Smith maybe, but the conditions may not allow that to happen. Probably, I think better. Do you think this will be the last Ashes they want to? No, maybe. I don't think so. How Stephen will be in the Nationals. He should be at his best. We'll say Aussie's 4-0 since they're habituated bowling. No, I don't agree. Game controls, I don't agree. Yeah, exactly. It was Monday, 13th, which is a couple of hours too late for the matches, which is frustrating. $3,900. We're going to be hitting 20,000 while we're going. Remarkable. Absolutely remarkable. Okay, Keshav Sharma says Australia will be in serious pressure after their defeat against India in their own backyard. Correct, they go to the same ground. I think England have edged over Aussies now. What do you think? I think I agree. 3-2 England. I'm great. Ajaz Ahmad in India, 1.3 billion people got vaccine. 97% of Indian have no corona. That's brilliant. Robert Muller, 89. Nihar, I agree. Burns should have been picked in Harris' spot, but he's in BBL for stars. Joe Burns, I don't think so. I prefer to bring another. Renshaw should have been in there. There's another Matthew Renshaw. Anyone 5-0, probably 3-2. Fandom. That's amazing. The sheer numbers we got here has been great, guys. Amazing. Australia 2-1. Well, it's 5 series leading up to 2 matches. What about Nick Madison? Probably best in the lot. I think you're right, Rahul Singh. But he stuffed up one Test series. In fact, it was at Adelaide Oval in the day-night position. He stuffed up, which is the current holder of Ashes, I'd say. So Australia retained the Ashes back in England. I was there for that. Do you think Smith will captain a Test in Ashes considering that? Yeah, I kind of see it happening. Yes, I do. Whether I agree with it is another thing. Bring Khawaja in, and then there's your captain through and through. Absolutely bringing him. Okay. What is your temperature in your city? It's about 25 degrees. It drops to about 7, 8 at night. For England to excel, they need to get rid of Smith and White, correct? Because they're both back on what you'll think about. Yes, I think so. And maybe Labuschagne too. I talked about Rory Burns. Okay. Do you think the Aussies will miss Tim Payne? Yes, they will. Why Maxwell and Finch not playing tests? Great question. I like Maxwell. I like Finch. I would like to see Aaron Finch open the batting and Maxwell on the side as opposed to Harris and Head, and have somehow put Khawaja in there. Have a great side. Snowfall won most figures. Lucifer Evac, is it Lucifer to the one I know? Australia 4-1. I'm not sure about that, but the most runs could well be Warner and those wickets could well be Cummins. I can see the logic in that one. Can see the logic in that one for sure. Please post it earlier. So I've done that already. There's a lot. Actually, I'm not test play. He can't. What can he do? Oh, guys, we hit 2 hours. I've got 50 people watching. Maxwell not a test player. He can't keep these cool. Well, I think he can. Ajo's Ahmed. What is your opinion about Ajo's control? Who takes it? Brilliant. Absolutely sensational. It was a big effort. Only a third bowler in the world to ever do that behind Jimmy Lake, who got 19, and then Kumble, and then, of course, Ajo's. It's a great, especially as in his home location, even though he's living elsewhere. It's been a great performance all around. Absolutely amazing. Brilliant, brilliant performance. A lot to be said about that performance. Absolutely huge accolades for him. All right. Best captain for Australia. At the moment, I would not have said Pat Cummins, and I certainly wouldn't say Payne. Aaron Finch still for me at the moment. War overall. Which match England wins most series? I don't know. Lots of rain predicted here for Brisbane over next few days, likely to draw the test. Well, it's early to say that. Early to say that indeed. Way too early to say that. Rishabh Pant or Ishan Kishan? That's a great question. At the moment, you'd still say Rishabh Pant, but Ishan Kishan deserves to be given a lot more accolades than he is, and he's playing very well. So, hats off to him. Coley or Root? Well, Root has a bit of an edge at the moment, I have to say. Magnificent. All round, we've done so well, guys. We're going to see 20,000 here for sure. So, strict, there are 5 games. Okay. So, again, Gabba first, Adelaide the second, Melbourne the third, Sydney the fourth. And the 5th test was meant to be Perth, but it's not going to be. COVID stopped that going there, at least the Premier of the state has. Yeah, I miss Colin not making a century as well. But it's going to be probably Tasmania because they missed out on the Afghanistan test. And I don't think anyone would begrudge them not getting through. Then in the case of Melbourne and Sydney putting in bids, we'll see whether they've got any chance of getting in there, but it's unlikely. Canberra is another spot that they considered. What is your take on Pujara and Rahane for the next selection? Rahane should go now. He's injured, so-called injured. It might be a quiet way of seeing him go. I think Rahane's gone. Ishan Sharma's gone. I think the leftover will be that Pujara will stay there for a somewhat of a time, but they've got Gill, Agarwal, Shreyas Iyer and Sky Yadav all knocking down the door. And Nishan Kashan and Eswan. There's quite a few. Punter Warner for what? Keeping. Warner's not a keeper, but in terms of batting, you'd have to say Warner at the moment. One will draw, of course. Yeah. It's phenomenal numbers, really. Phenomenal numbers. I'm going to miss you has no way. Well, he's not retired, but he's not coming back. Maybe the short format, maybe. You didn't sleep tomorrow. Is a big day tomorrow. Oh, you're right. Thur and V, I've got to think about going to sleep very shortly. I think we'll need to go to sleep. Okay, there we have it. Well, what is your prediction on? Again, my prediction is 3-2 for the series, England's way. It'll be Brisbane winning 1, Brisbane, Australia winning 1, Adelaide and Brisbane. Second test in Adelaide winning to England. Third test potentially England. Fourth test Sydney, Australia. Fifth test anyone's guess. Depending on Livingston. Livingston should be somewhere in their Essendon squad for sure. Do you think Root has more pressure on him than Smith because of? Well, no, I don't think they both got equal amount of pressure. Who will be the future captain for India, considering both Kohli and Sharma are close to their retirement? Oh, I mean, Shreyas Iyer certainly has proven to be someone they're thinking about. He could well be up there, or Gill. Well, I think for India versus, yeah, that's going to happen. Tell you about Philip Salt. Good. Yeah, 5-0 Australia. No, that's too heavy. So I'll punt. Who would you pick as a test week? Punt. I still believe punt's got more going for him. All right, guys. 46 of you. What are you all doing here? I think Mars will shine in the Ashes. If you're here and you're not subscribing, then that's another thing. But if you're here, please subscribe. My gosh, it's just been a massive total here. Massive. So I think, Marnus, you've done. You're on your fan. Well done. Which city am I living in? Coogee Beach, Sydney, Australia. Do you think England will play Jack Leach? Probably not the first match. I would say no, not the first match. Okay, that's probably what's going to happen. Shafali Verma versus Jamal Rogers, who is more a classy. Jamal Rogers is probably more classy. Shafali Verma is more of a hitter. So please reply. Who is best pull short player of cricket? 1 Ponting, 2 shot. They're both good. What match are you watching? I'm watching no match. So we'll win the rivalry. Wait and watch. Well, we'll wait and see. I'm not totally convinced. Feel it too. It's Channel 7 on Foxtel and KO Sports. That's correct. James Faulkner here is in good form, having backhand slow bowls. He won't be playing any Test cricket for, again, I think that's his Test career days are numbered or finished. Why are you not answering me? I'm answering every single question you're asking. So I'm going to hear in India, okay. Former Indian occupied Kashmir. How much would Anderson's absence affect him? I'm not sure how that all fits together as a sentence, but wait and see. Your take on Ravi Bishnoi as a leggy for South African squad? Mixed. Stokes or Smith? Well, Stokes is the best Test batsman according to you. And it's the current generation. The previous generation was Bradman, then there was Viv Richards. The current generation, I mean, you can't think Kohli, Williamson, Smith, Babar's there you go. There's lots of talk on Ben Stokes. What you say is he if Cliff Hatch? Absolutely. Will the return of Stokes hit anything like this? Yes, absolutely. No doubt. I don't know, people watching. I got you, bro. Can you give us your dream playing 11 ever? Joe Root, best Test batsman. Well, he's up there certainly. Okay, fan, can you give us dream playing 11? What current players do you think Australia should try? Any youngsters? No, they probably won't. I think England will struggle in taking 20 wickets in Australian soil. No, they won't struggle. We'll come back to it. Okay, so my best ever soul. See, how far are we going back? I mean, to include Viv Richards, I want to. But Hayden Layer, right up there. Then you got Viv Richards, you've got Kohli, you've got Tendulkar, you've got Ponting, you've got a whole range of players there. Gilchrist is a keeper. Steyn is a bowler. Anderson's a bowler. Spinner, well, is Shane Warne still included or not? Otherwise, it's hard to pick. All right, guys. Lee and on the line. All right, I think this is the best time for England to win it. Exactly, I agree. My prediction: India, South Africa, India, South Africa. India will smash them. Steve Smith will rock my playing 11. Okay, we'll say it. Because I have no new generation places. Yeah, he's quite right. Ian Chappell and Shane Warne are the two guys that have got a lot of credibility with knowledge about what's happening in Australian cricket, for sure. This is just rattling through the numbers here. Okay. Greatest rivalry between Australia and England series is oldest for the. Yep. Top 5 systems. According to you. Currently, Smith, Root, Kohli, Parazam, and 5th, maybe Lewisham. All right, guys. I'll go seriously, guys. So view, like, and share the post. Subscribe. Hit the notification button. At Norm Koch is my Twitter and my Instagram handle. Norman Koch for my Facebook page and of course LinkedIn as well. So view, like, and share, and subscribe. Chris Groves will be man of the match, I reckon. The fact is, that's the way it's going to be. All right, guys. We'll see each other in the morning, my time. The game starts at 11. 9:30 I'll be on, which will be about 4 a.m. Indian time, about 10:30 England time. All right. Still no review in Big Bash. Almost every other league in the world has good review. Please answer. I don't know Satvik Patara. I just don't know. England has got a pretty young side this time around. What's your take on that? They have Chris Wilkes being man of the match. He could well be Raj. Could well be. Okay. All right, guys, I've got to finish up there. I think I've had enough. We've done well. Come back in the morning. Unfortunately, it's 4 o'clock your time. Between 4 and 5:30 your time, you will see some more cricket. Okay. Do you think toss will be an important factor? Of course it will be. Justin Langer, Hayden Ponting, Ahmed Azarine, Ben Stokes, Viv Richards, Russia, Punt, Nutteridge. Unusual selections. All right, guys. That's good enough for me. It's good enough for you. Thank you for your time. We've been online for 2 hours and virtually 20 minutes. We've busted a lot of tabloids here, so good stuff. England and Australia. Let's see who wins. I think Australia win their cover test. See you in the morning. Gonna see you in the morning?